Today, we're diving straight into a massive shift in our industry, the transition from PMBOK 7 to PMBOK 8. Whether you're a C-suite executive obsessing over strategic governance, a project manager battling it out on the ground, or a professional gearing up for certification, you absolutely need to know this. This update establishes an entirely new professional baseline. We've put together a highly focused breakdown that cuts right through all the noise, so we can figure out exactly what's changing and, more importantly, why it matters to your career. Here's our roadmap. We're going to cover the evolution of the framework, the massive shift towards strategic value, the new behavioral principles, and the focus domains. Then we'll look at actual leadership application and wrap up with a game plan for the PMP exam. Let's shift our perspective right up to the boardroom level. Diving right into this complete transition guide, it becomes immediately clear that this isn't just about tweaking a few definitions or slapping a new coat of paint on old ideas. This is a comprehensive overhaul. By really understanding the side-by-side evolution, these new strategic shifts, and how the entire framework locks together, you are going to be fully prepared for the new standards and, of course, those looming 2026 exams. Okay, let's start with the evolution itself. We're moving away from the abstract and getting incredibly actionable. Taking a macro view, the structural shifts just jump right out at you. We're literally moving from 12 pretty abstract principles in PMBOK 7, paring them down to just 6 highly measurable behavioral standards in PMBOK 8. At the exact same time, the framework refines the old 8 performance domains into 7 laser-focused areas. This streamlined approach, it's intentionally designed to be easier to apply, easier to audit, and sharply focused on actual boots-on-the-ground delivery. To put this into perspective, just look at how the primary outcomes shifts from simply delivering outputs to strategic value realization. I mean, that is a night and day difference. Furthermore, your auditability goes from what was considered limited to high because PMBOK 8 relies on evidence-based behavioral standards. If you've ever had to report to a governance board, you know that having irrefutable auditability is exactly what they're demanding. So, how does this change the way we actually think? It's all about shifting to strategic value and evolving our mindset. We are officially graduating from just worrying about tactical outputs to actively participating in strategic governance. Under the old PMBOK 7 paradigm, we operated under this rather cloudy, vague concept known as stewardship. But now, moving through the lens of a three-dimensional mindset, that concept comes into sharp, undeniable focus as the accountable leader. You're no longer just a steward. You possess a proactive, value-driven ownership mindset that aligns perfectly with what modern executives expect around sustainability and strategic value. And you know, this mindset shift isn't just academic theory. It actually triggers 4 major strategic evolutions that fundamentally change how project management works. We're leaving tactical execution in the rearview mirror and heading straight into strategic value delivery. Let's break those 4 mandates down. First up, basic stakeholder management is out. We're talking about ecosystem orchestration now. Second, simple cost control. That becomes a rigid mandate for financial integrity and ESG compliance, which, by the way, is a massive topic for today's boards. Third, we're moving away from being process-heavy to becoming outcome-certain. And finally, those abstract concepts are totally replaced by audit-ready behavioral standards. Make no mistake, these are your new, non-negotiable professional mandates. Now, let's look at the exact rules of engagement. What are these 6 measurable behavioral principles? PMBOK 8 transforms principles into measurable rules under a 3-dimensional mindset: proactive, ownership, and value-driven. The absolute biggest takeaway here for anyone leading a project is that these 6 principles are no longer just nice-to-have, fluffy suggestions. They are strict rules of engagement that dictate your professional behavior and literally build you into an accountable leader. From rules of engagement, we move right onto the ground level, orchestrating delivery across 7 focused performance domains. Notice how these 7 domains are grouped to really orchestrate delivery. Right in the center, we've got our core management: scope, schedule, and finance. Surrounding those are your enablers: governance, stakeholders, resources, and risk. And critically, that blue ring integrating the whole thing, that shows us that planning and measurement are no longer isolated silos. They are seamlessly integrated across all 7 domains. The crucial point to grasp here is the operational flow. Think of it as a strict logical sequence. Step 1, your principles dictate how you behave. Step 2, your domains dictate what you focus on. Step 3, your processes provide the exact tools for how you execute. And step 4, the ultimate goal of it all, is achieving strategic value realization. When we zoom out and view this as an integrated delivery engine, everything just clicks into place. The hexagonal principles connect directly to the circular domains, which then link right to the process execution box, all pointing toward that golden target of value realization. This integrated system is exactly how the framework creates consistency, stronger governance, and irrefutable audit outcomes. So, how do we actually apply this day to day? Let's talk about bridging execution and governance. PMBOK 8 provides a really distinct dual perspective, which I love. Middle managers must focus heavily on executing through the 7 domains, using them as powerful engines to manage that ground-level delivery. Conversely, senior leaders and C-suite executives are using the 6 principles to shape organizational culture, establish firm governance criteria, evaluate their leadership teams, and drive the overall strategic value. It's the same framework, just viewed through 2 very different lenses. When we translate those perspectives into a dashboard view, the contrast is stark. On one side, the middle manager perspective zeroes in on operational excellence, tracking progress across the domains from initiation right through to closure. Meanwhile, the senior leader perspective utilizes a radar chart to track value, culture, performance, risk, and strategy. It ensures strategic alignment and audit readiness at an absolute glance. Now, for everyone eyeing that certification, let's talk about the PMP exam and your action plan. If you are testing, you need to mark your calendars for July 9, 2026. The updated PMP exam will heavily prioritize complex situational judgment over rote process memorization. You've got to master the connection between the 6 principles and the 7 domains. Most importantly, expect to be tested on value trade-offs. You must justify the why behind your strategic reasoning, not just regurgitate the what. Honestly, start adopting this mindset in your daily practice today. Ultimately, establishing your new professional baseline requires linking governance, sustainability, and strategic value all together. PMBOK 8 is clearly not just some dry textbook update. It aligns your project leadership directly with modern boardroom expectations. It's all about clarity, strategy, and real-world impact.
Learning reinforcement.
On July 9, 2026, the Project Management Professional Exam undergoes a structural update designed to align the profession with modern corporate requirements. Historically, project management was a discipline confined to internal operational parameters. Success meant delivering specific, isolated outputs strictly on time and within budget. The new standard evolves this perspective. Project delivery is now evaluated based on its contribution to long-term sustainability and tangible business impact. This mandate introduces the central metric for the next generation of project leadership: strategic value realization. By anchoring project success to corporate value, PMBOK 8 moves the project manager closer to executive governance and the expectations of the boardroom. Managers who focus exclusively on task completion risk losing their influence in organizations that now measure success through long-term strategic impact. To understand this change, we have to look at how project standards are reviewed. PMBOK 7 relied heavily on subjective, abstract ideas that were difficult to verify in a formal setting. When an auditor or a corporate governance committee reviews a project, they require concrete evidence of compliance rather than interpretations of abstract concepts. PMBOK 8 consolidates the framework into tighter measurable elements. The 12 abstract principles from the previous edition are refined into 6 distinct behavioral standards. Simultaneously, the execution framework is streamlined, reducing 8 performance domains down to 7 optimized domains. By linking specific behaviors to distinct delivery areas, the framework creates an evidence-based methodology that provides a clear, unambiguous audit trail. This structural consolidation bridges the gap between project management theory and the reporting requirements of practical corporate governance. These 6 principles serve as mandatory rules of engagement. They define the required conduct for a leader rather than offering optional guidance. Consider the shift in leadership responsibility. The previous framework emphasized stewardship. The new standard demands an accountable leader. While stewardship is difficult to quantify, accountability can be verified by tracking specific decisions, resource allocations, and risk mitigations back to a single point of responsibility. To meet these standards, professionals must operate within a psychological framework known as the 3-dimensional mindset. This mindset requires every action to be proactive, to demonstrate absolute ownership of the outcome, and to remain strictly value-driven throughout the project lifecycle. Without these behavioral foundations, the technical aspects of execution will likely fail the scrutiny of a governance audit. PMBOK 8 operates as a unified delivery engine. It is a chronological pipeline where each stage is dependent on the one preceding it. The logic follows a precise sequence. The 6 principles dictate the exact behavioral parameters the leader must adopt before execution begins. Those behaviors are then applied to the 7 domains, which define the operational areas where that behavior must be focused. These domains are categorized into core management, handling scope, schedule, and finance, and enablers, covering governance, stakeholders, resources, and risk. Finally, processes provide the tactical tools required by those domains to produce the ultimate goal, strategic value realization. This pipeline also marks a shift in how we handle the activities of planning and measurement. Instead of isolated phases, planning and measurement are now treated as continuous activities running inside every single domain. The role of tailoring has been similarly repositioned within the architecture. Tailoring is no longer a standalone principle. It is now managed as a practical activity within the governance domain. This interconnected architecture ensures that daily execution tasks are linked to a measurable strategic outcome. As the architecture evolves, the language of the profession reflects new organizational mandates. Standard stakeholder management is often transactional, focusing on immediate relationship maintenance. The new requirement is ecosystem orchestration. This demands that leaders manage the broader, interconnected network impacts of their projects, extending beyond direct stakeholders. The shift also changes the financial expectations of the project manager. Leaders are now responsible for financial integrity and ESG compliance, meaning environmental, social, and governance metrics must be tracked alongside the traditional budget. Managing these multi-layered priorities requires outcome-certain leadership, which prioritizes the final result over bureaucratic processes. Adopting these critical strategic upgrades allows a project manager to successfully operate at the high level of a corporate executive. This framework is applied differently, depending on a professional's position within the organization. For middle managers, the focus is primarily operational. Managers use the 7 domains as execution dashboards to track daily performance. Senior leaders and boardroom executives, however, function at a strategic altitude. Their role is to ensure the project remains aligned with the organization's overarching vision. These leaders use the 6 principles as criteria for evaluating leadership performance, shaping culture, and establishing governance. A healthy organization requires both tiers operating simultaneously, managers executing through domains, and leaders governing through principles. For those facing the July 2026 PMP exam update, these changes require a new approach to preparation. Rote memorization of inputs and tools is no longer a viable strategy for success. The new exam structure tests situational judgment, requiring candidates to apply behavioral standards to complex scenarios. Candidates will be evaluated on their ability to manage value trade-offs. Success depends on understanding the reasoning behind an action and selecting decisions that maximize strategic value rather than simple task completion. Adopting the 3-dimensional mindset immediately will benefit your professional practice regardless of your exam date. PMBOK 8 establishes the permanent baseline for the future of professional project governance.